Assalamualaikum to Miss Ezrina and to all my friends. I'm Siti Maisarah and my partner
Nurul dan Atiqah.
will explain to you regarding final questions for question number 1, which is explain 4 offences which could amount to false trade description and together with the punishment it bring for such offences under the Trade Description Act 2011. Okay, the introduction for this question is Trade Description Act 1972 is an act to consolidate and amend the law relating to merchandise marked with new provisions prohibiting misdescriptions of goods provided in the course of trade and fall of misleading indication as to the price of goods, to confer power to assign the meaning of any expressions or indications used in relation to the price of goods, change or rate for service, accommodation or facilities, and to regulate, control or prohibit the use of theory in the course of trade of business, to prohibit the making of false or misleading statement to any service, accommodation or facility provided in the course of trade of business, to confer power to require information or instructions relating to goods to be marked on, to accompany the goods to be included in advertisement, and for related.
Okay, for the first offences is between section 6 by applying a trade description to goods. This can occur in the following manner in section 6(1). If one marks the good with such a description, other than that, if one puts the good anywhere where the trade description is made, for example, in a box or in a plastic bag. Next is if one uses it in any manner to be referring to the goods in the description. Other than that, oral statement can also be an application of a trade description in section 6(2) for any goods supplied following a request that has a trade description supply in the mode to be applying such a trade description as section 6(3). For example, that Salma is ordered 2 kilograms of pound cake from Adilah, but then Adilah as a seller then send the fondant cake to the Salma, but the cake weight is actually not 2 kilo but 1 kilo only. So for the next offence is section 14, where false and misleading indication as to price of goods. So that any false indication to the effect that the price at which the goods are offered is equal to or than the recommended prices. For example, Syahirah is buying one set of baking tray that state 20% discount on its package. So the seller said that price have been reduced, but in fact, the special price is exactly the same as which the baking tray was previously offered. So the price is the same, but the owner state that they discount it. So then the shop is guilty of an offence under the section.
Okay, as our topic is the legal aspect in the food service industry. So the next offences in the food service industry is the offences in the food service industry in under section 17, where false and misleading statement as to service. In this section state that it is an offence if someone use a false and misleading statement where he or she know his statement to be false, recklessly make a statement which is false, or make a statement that is likely to deceive or mislead any person. For example, a statement that can actually be false and misleading statement as to service, such as statement that are made with regard to provisions and nature of any business, accommodation or facilities, the statement about location or amenities, or any accommodation that provided, statement of time of operation, and many more. For example, Mia went to the Moonbox Cafe to have a cup of coffee while doing his assignment there, because Moonbox Cafe state that they provide Wi-Fi for their customer. However, after Mia buy a cup of coffee from their cafe and she asked for Wi-Fi password, their manager said that they have no Wi-Fi available for their customer. This is clearly show that Mumba Cafe has given a false statement about their amenities provided in their cafe, even though he already know that their cafe is not provide any Wi-Fi for their cafe, held liable for offence under Section 70. Besides, other offence in the food service industry is under Section 18, where false and misleading statement in advertisement. In the section state that no person shall make any misleading or any false or misleading statement in any advertisement in relation to any goods or service. The offences that food service industry are always do is they are advertise something that can attract, something that can lead people to believe and reach their limit of expectation to have the same thing like in the advertisement. For example, Hani went to restaurant Selera Maju to have a dinner. She do not know what to have for a dinner, but after she goes through the menu card with all the attractive pictures, so he decide to have a kway teow goreng udang besar. However, when her order arrived, she found that her food is not the same as the picture of kway teow goreng udang besar in the menu card that she saw before, because she got only a small prawn in her food. Restaurant Selera Maju has done this offence because they serve the foods different with what they are advertised in their menu cards. Restaurant Selera Maju can be penalty for offences under not a body corporate, which is fine less than RM100,000 ringgit or imprisonment less than 3 years, or both subsequent offence with fine less than 200,000 ringgit or an imprisonment less than 6 years.
So, for the conclusion, all food service organisation should be more alert and be more careful with all the action that they take regarding their business to avoid them from being guilty of an offence under all the sections in the Trade Description Act 1972, such as the described food and drink, the mispricing of food and drink, false and misleading statement as to service, and false and misleading statement in the advertisement. So that's all from us for question 1.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to Miss Ezrina. I'm Nadiah and Amira from Hm242 4A1. Will be shared to you guys in what circumstance a license of a licensed tourist guide could be suspended, revoked, or refused to be renewed. Okay, one of the world's largest and fastest growing industry was tourism and travel industry. This country not only drive economic development of our nations, but it also affect the political, sociology, and environmental science of a nation. Hence, law is one of the important mechanisms in regulating the operations of tourism industry. Thus, tourism law is a nexus between a federal state common law and international law that regulate the day-to-day working of the travel industry. A license of tourist guide according to sections 21 Tourism Industry Act require a persons that provide service as the tourist guide need to obtain a license. Failure to obtain such license will be considered as an offence, and upon conviction shall be liable for fine not exceeding 7,000 ringgit or imprisonment for a terms not exceeding 2 years or both. Okay, let's move to main point. So a licensed tourist guide could be suspended, revoked, or refused to be renewed when the license holder failed to comply with the obligations under the Tourism Industry Act 1992. For instance, fail to renew license or refuse to display the license, then it's provided the commissioner with false or misleading or inaccurate information, document or declarations has been convicted of any offence involving dishonesty, fraud, or moral turpitude.
Next, according to Section 28 of Tourism Industry Act, which is the the commissioner have a power in order to suspend or revoke the license granted and remove the name of tourist if tourist guide has failed to wear the authorization card or give it to anyone else. Next is a tourist guide who are incapable by reason of illness or otherwise is acting of a tourist guide. Besides that, those tourist guide who are failed to disclose any fact all the time of applying for a license or failed to attend or successfully complete the training test of proficiency. And lastly is the license can be revoked when the tourist guide has not performed the functions of a tourist guide as a tourist guide for a continuous period of 6 months. Upon the revocation or suspension of the license, the tourist guide must immediately cease to act as a tourist guide. If he continue his duty, he shall be guilty of an offence under Section 29 Tourism and Industry Act, and open commission shall be liable to a fine not exceeding 7,000 ringgit or to imprison for a term not exceeding 2 years or both, like what Nadiah said just
Okay, then we move to right to appeal against the suspensions and or revocations. An aggrieved licensed tourist guide may appeal in writing to the minister within 14 days from the date on which the notice of refusal to renew. Suspensions or revocations is served on him. If the minister confirms the decisions of the minister to revoke or suspend the license, the tourist guide should wait in 7 days from the date of the confirmations written, the license and authorizations guide.
Tourist guide need to have a proper image in order to avoid the license to be revoked or to be renewed. All the offences that we mentioned earlier just now will give a bad effect to the tourist guide as well, and the action should be taken under the law of Tourism Industry Act 1992, which is they need to pay a fine amounted RM7,000 or imprisonment for not exceed for 2 years or both. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nadiah Syahirah.
My name is Farah Hani with Omar.
Okay, today we're going to explain to you on our question on law for group assignment. So our question is explaining the nature, structure, rights, liabilities of sole proprietorship. So a business organization is an entity aimed at carrying on commercial enterprise, which have 3 types of business: sole proprietorship, partnership, and also company. The nature of sole proprietorship is a sole, which is a one person that doing all the business, and also it is the simplest form of business organization because it doesn't interact with legal rights, and they don't have an agreement. And also sole proprietorship provide his own skills from the owner of the company itself, and all of the liability and profit is for the owner itself. Okay, next.
Okay, I will proceed to the rights and liability and how sole proprietorship will be dissolved. So sole proprietorship is the business that do not need any agreement to start up the business, and it is simple and easiest business organizations because the owner can easily transfer his or her business to someone that he trusts. And the liabilities of sole proprietorship is like the owner can have unlimited liability to the creditors. He can do a loans as much as he want, but with the term and conditions applied. Okay, and the dissolve of this business organizations, it is in 3 ways, like when the owner is bankrupt, or the owner is dead, or the termination of by the owner itself. That's all. As the conclusion, sole proprietorship is a very simple and easiest business organization, even though it has the cons in the characteristic of the business, but still it is very advantageous to the persons that wants to start a small business and need someone that very confident and wants to sharpen their skills in the business industry.
And it is also the most leading type of business in Malaysia. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.